Welcome to Crest in partnership with Elusive, an environmentally conscious apparel and lifestyle brand. Producer Dodge here with the second of what we're now calling our monthly First Tuesdays episodes. In an exciting adjustment to our planned schedule, wavemaker Nick Hounsfield is hopefully coming up next month instead, but for now we've decided to do what in old parlance would be to call Stop the Press, and for very good reason too. According to Tom, so feel free to call us out on it, for the first time since Carwyn Williams, Wales is home to Britain's top-ranked pro surfer. We're speaking, of course, of Patrick Langdon-Dark, the young goofyfoot who last month, thanks in part to a mind-blowing frontside rotation over a dumping Portuguese closeout, has finished the year 13th in the World Surf League Europe leaderboard. The cut-off for the Challenger Series was supposed to be top 10, but with a few injury replacements or wildcards, this means there's every chance we'll be seeing the dry gork flying at one of those events before the year is out. In fact, the WSL themselves even temporarily broke the Welsh internet by posting that Pat was in fact on the Challenger Series for the year before it turned out to be an error by an admin bod at WSL Towers somewhere in California. For those of you worried about his sanity though, Pat always knew it wasn't a legit post, as he explains to Tom and Rhino in this interview carried out last week when he was in Porthcawl to watch the British Longboard Union event at Rest Bay. I was on holiday for this one, but I've decided to give the boys a C+ on their audio setup, so sit back and enjoy our first Tuesday's interview with the one, the only PLD.
So a nice no frills one this time. Producer Dodd is on holiday, so we've got Patrick, Langdon-Dark and Rhines in the living room in my house. So it's just one mic.
Yo!
So sorry if we're not in stereo, or if we're in mono this time. And we're just going to get straight into it, because this is a bloke who doesn't need much of an introduction nowadays. Pat is the highest ranking UK pro surfer on the WQS, the European number 13. Just one or two spots off the Challenger Series berth, and he's Welsh. Well, local in fact, isn't that right? Because you now divide your time between Mumbles and North Kennelly.
Yeah, well, not Mumbles, more Swansea. can't afford to live in Mumbles.
Right.
But yeah, Mum's moved to North Kennelly, so I'm a bit of a local now.
Oh, that's awesome. So where in Swansea do you live then?
Obviously
you don't have to say your exact address.
In Dunver.
Right, okay.
So,
and is that where you're from?
No, I'm from Gower.
You're from Gower. Oh,
yeah.
so you went to Gowerton?
Yeah, Gower Comp. So
okay.
Jem Howe was my teacher.
Oh, okay.
Jem Howe, the surf skier?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Ian Davis, who longboards here.
Ian, you know him. He's around the Porthcawl area, fella. Nice fella.
All right.
Yeah,
Is he French teacher?
Physics.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So now I do remember actually, like when you were a full-on Grom, like 14, 15, you know, and like full-on Grom's a chopsy, and I remember Ian, as your teacher, telling me like, he's a really nice kid, he's really polite and does all his own work and he listens in class.
Yeah, it's because I just talked about surfing with him.
Right. Oh, so then he like
I sat next to his table, and I remember opening my physics book and be like, what have I done this year? I just talked to him.
Oh. All right, let's get the formalities out of the way then, Pat. What's this weekend surf been like for you? Where have you been?
So yesterday I doughneyed here actually with my dad. My dad filmed.
In Porthcawl?
Yeah, on his one day off he got up at 5 and 5, 6 o'clock and come film me.
Yeah.
And then I watched Guts and the boys in the longboard comp. Went over to a little left, just down the bay.
Yeah,
Surfed
nice.
that, and then Rest Bay again. And then I dashed back and surfed Langdon-Dark, which was actually really fun.
Wow.
And then this morning I surfed Langdon-Dark, and then I just surfed Rest Bay before this with Logan.
Crikey, you're really putting the hours in then.
Yeah, I felt a little bit bad because I should have trained today, but my body was tired, so I just surfed.
That is training for me.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. So, well, with all that surfing at home, what about like you're travelling abroad for you next? Like, not a contest aside, are there any sort of like free surf trips coming up?
Well, I just got back like 3 days ago from 2 weeks in Portugal, so at the moment I got to do some real work probably, and probably next will be Pantin, or maybe I'll go somewhere early to get ready for Pantin if I can.
Yeah.
But not much. I just had my free surf trip, I think.
Right, okay.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. And then the genuine plan for this year then, is that going to be like, are you head down for training for next year? Is that the goal?
Yeah, so next year's season starts in Pantin.
Yeah.
So it's basically, just do my best and qualify for the Challenger, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about the WQS situation then, because that's what sort of has stopped the press, in both Welsh and British surfing lately, really. That charge you've been on, and the fact that you came just a couple of slots short of the Challenger Series. So you came 13th on the European WQS this year, 10th would have been a Challenger Series slot, although a couple of the guys in 11th and 12th, I think, have showed up in the draw, didn't they, at Snapper?
And it's weird how they work it. There's quite a few guys below me that have got in the events.
Yeah.
So they base it off the fact that they were in the Challenger last year.
Okay.
So like Joan Deroux and Cowley and Mihi Manabre from Chobu.
Right, okay.
They were all below me, but...
And Vasco.
Yeah, and Vasco, but you got the wild card.
Oh, okay.
But them boys, they get picked over me, which is like, I was a bit salty, but...
Yeah.
I've asked if there's any chance I'll get in a couple, and hopefully I will. But
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you kind of hoping for a slot in some of the events sooner or later this year if there's an injury replacement from Europe, or if they're filling it with other wildcards?
Yeah, hopefully. So they have the CT replacements, which are essentially the gaps that are there in case any of the CT surfers want to compete.
Yeah.
So there's room for them to get in the draw, because obviously the draw's so big.
So you've got a round of 96 to start the contest.
Yeah.
That's made up of each of the quotas from the continents, and then they keep room for all 20 CT surfers, do they?
So then when they're not there, there's CT replacements.
Right.
So that's essentially the criteria for them is your regional ranks, injuries, and last year's Challenger Series rank. And that's what's let me down is because I don't have a Challenger Series rank from last year.
Right.
So the boys that are ranked below me are getting in.
Got that. Okay.
So I've had a couple of emails back and forward to be like, well, how does this work?
Yeah. I was going to say, you're bugging the hell out of Rob Gunning right now, are you?
Not to be bitter, but just, I don't know, I'm not a big name, so it's like, you got to say something, otherwise someone else is probably going to get
Possibly, though, a European wildcard or something then?
Maybe, hopefully.
When it comes to France or
yeah, but hopefully I just get a slot, but sometimes it's hard getting a slot.
But you're in regular conversation with Rob Gunning then, and you sort of you push in and...
A little bit of passive aggressive.
Yeah, actually, it's just the way to be, isn't it? You've got to sort of weasel your way in.
They say if you're applying for a job, you phone up and say, have you shortlisted yet? Is my application on the top of the pile?
I'm getting better at being that person.
Yeah.
Normally I'm a bit sort of more short fused and like.
So you're a bit more calculated.
Yeah, I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
Logan's good at it.
Is he?
Yeah, he's very passive.
When you found out then that there had been this, it now turns out to have been a mistake that the WSL posted on their Instagram that you were in the European Challenger Series list. Like, what happened there? How did you find out that had happened? Did you ever have a moment where you thought, "Oh, I'm in," and then, or did you always know? Because we posted from the Crest account something. And then James Jones rung immediately. It was like midnight or something, and was like, "Boys, take it down. I've just spoken to Pat. He's not actually in."
Yeah. I just got off the plane. I was just getting my rental car. I was literally in the shuttle van to the rental car in Lisbon because I was going to Ericeira for 2 weeks. And I got the notification on Instagram when you get mentioned in a story.
Yeah.
And I was, what is this? I haven't spoken to this kid in like years. Kid from Croyd. And it was the page, and I said, "Oh, I think this is a mistake," straight away.
Okay.
Because I would have had the email that so your payment doesn't get taken for your entry in the QSs until you get confirmed in.
Right.
So you can enter whatever you want, and they don't take your money till you're in. So I knew I wasn't in the event. So I text my old man, and he said, "Oh, it's probably a mistake." And then I just kept saying to people, "Oh, look, it's probably a mistake." And then people were like, "Why haven't you checked?" So I spoke to Rob, and he said, "Oh yeah, someone in the States has obviously made a mistake."
Oh, so it didn't even come from Europe then?
No, it was something to do with the office in the States.
Right.
I think my theory was, I tried not to think about it. I was like, I'm definitely not in. I'm not going to get worked up. But I think they must have taken the rankings from before Europe finished, because Europe finished really late compared to all the other regions.
Okay, so they must have just not known that the last
so they
contest
must
was still
yeah
to
they
run.
must have taken it after Caparica or Santa Cruz or something.
And you were 10th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think no, after Israel, I think,
Okay.
because there was all them back to back.
Because you were 12th after Caparica. weren't
Yeah,
you?
I think so. And the states and all the others, I think, were finished.
Yeah.
So I reckon someone over there just took their rankings too early.
Got you.
Okay. But if you do get the call anytime soon for a Challenger Series, like there's obviously, how are you going to do it? Like there's obviously the financial side of it and equipment. Like just going to the equipment side of things, does that change a little bit from what you're already doing already, or do you just carry on as normal?
What? So would I get different boards? I guess it depends which one I'd get called to, but at the moment I've got a pretty good quiver off Sam Defoe surfboards, or SDF, most people know them.
Yeah.
And I ride pretty big boards for my size, and I just get used to riding them. Like I'm only 5'5" and I ride 5'10s a lot.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
And it's just because I feel like a lot of people consider the contest scene as like small waves and it's always groveling, but to me I feel like, especially now they've changed it and they run a lot in April and March.
Yeah.
In Europe, at an open exposed beach break at that time of year, it's usually big and like hard work rather than small. And for me, I just find, because I'm a lighter surfer, being on a bigger board, my turns have more substance and I feel more solid and I can get out and around easier.
Yeah.
So I just and I like the feel of riding like a 5'10". So for somewhere, say I got into Ribeira, which is like, gets quite a lot of swell, but it's also got like a lot of flat wobbly sections. Being on a bigger board I think would help. But I've got my grovelers and stuff.
Yeah.
But being from here, I kind of used, like if it's grovelly, I'm not even stressed.
There's no,
I just grab my shortboard and it's fine.
Yeah. And then I guess on the financial situation, like everything at a drop of a hat, then like you'd have to go like flights and everything.
Yeah, it would be pretty hectic. I'd be lying if I say it's easy to do all the comps financially, but I am lucky that I work with my old man, so if it comes to getting time off, he just kind of just says I can go, but he works crazy hours so I can go.
Fair play.
Yeah.
I was a bit of a name drop for you here.
Okay.
I happened to know Callum Robson a little bit before he went on his big tear.
No way.
Yeah, it was just an accident of going to the same place in Indonesia as guys from his town would always go to, like 2 years in a row, you know. So it was like I'd known this grommet. There was this grommet that ripped a bit with them, and then I only found out after the second year that like he was actually like 14, and I was like, whoa, he must be amazing then, you know. And then, but long story short, because I then had him on Instagram and all of that, when he got, you know, suddenly from nowhere the Challenger Series slot, he just did a crowdfund. He was just like, right, if you support me and you've enjoyed watching me,
Right.
I've got this channel. And I think, like, obviously I didn't contribute because I've met the guy on 2 different surf trips briefly, like 4 years ago. But, you know, he must have been enough people in Evans Head where he's now doing this fundraiser back because they've had the flood trouble.
Yeah.
And he was literally asking people like you know, so have you ever thought about something like that if you suddenly got like Pat's in the US Open? Like, come on, everyone, give us 50 quid or something.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not easy as it is, but I don't want to like take the mick. And like if I can afford it, I will. But then with the Challenger Series, I think if I did the whole Challenger, I would have to.
Yeah.
Because the financial state, me now, or with how much I get off sponsors and stuff, the numbers they've been like stabbed in an article on it, it's like, I don't know, near that amount of money. So
there's a lot of bare surfboards on the Challenger Series, isn't there?
yeah, it's hard.
It's a
It seems like when you talk to people back in the day as well, they say, oh, they were on this and they were on this, but I don't know, surfing seems big now, but I guess just the way the economy is or something, I don't.
That's a really good point, isn't it?
I'm not going to pretend to understand how it works.
And
That's a really good point. Yeah,
I think it is because I don't want to talk about, but I'm just going back to like what you said about like years ago. Like I was sponsored like 20 years ago, but there seemed a lot of kids were sponsored years ago.
Yeah.
A lot more than that are now.
Yeah.
But also, they were getting flowed loads of product, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
I mean, loads of product.
Yeah, and opportunities and trips and stuff.
The QS 6 stars back in the day would be like a round of 192, wouldn't they? And it would be like absolutely ram-packed with like guys travelling the world. It would cost like 60 grand a year to travel.
Yeah.
And they could find 192 guys with a salaried logo on their boards with enough of a salary to be travelling the world.
I always wonder the kids I'm surfing against. Like, some of them seem like they've got nice cars and like
Yeah.
they do all these trips, and they don't seem to ever like, not that they portray that, but you never seen, you wouldn't know, but you never see like, oh, he's got a day job and stuff. But
Yeah.
me and Logan are always like, what do these like?
What do they-
Yeah, there's all this cash, boys.
That's the reality, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? They must have to have some kind of
Yeah,
other
everyone's
job.
got their own way of doing it. Like,
little hustle on the back.
yeah, but I think it's just the ones where you see like that if they're not at a comp, they're like in Costa Rica or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, where do you? But you never know. They could be doing something. They could be working online or.
Yeah. So there's a financial grind, but like, you know, the whole comp thing, like mentally for you, is that like you've obviously got a desire to keep it running, like you know, but obviously there's a challenge now, like to get onto the Challenger series as well. But like, how do you deal with all of that?
I don't know. I love it.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
It's down to blind.
Yeah, I like the challenge, and like I really enjoy the mental side. Sometimes I look at other people, not anyone, but people that I've spent a little bit of time with or like seen at contests, and I just think I think some guys don't work on their mind that much.
Yeah.
Because it's like surfing is pretty serious now, but it's probably still at that stage where like if you say to certain people like, do you work on your mindset and stuff, they're like, what do you want about?
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like that's somewhere I feel like I'm strong, and I just love the idea of competing and like all the ways you can improve yourself in the physical and the mental.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some people say it's luck and all this, and there is elements of luck, obviously, but I think there's a lot you can control with your mind and the physical and the prep and everything else.
Let's get into your QS season then and have a quick review of it. You know, because mindset obviously came to place for you then in that first of these. So they basically started the rankings again, didn't they, before the Azores comp?
Yeah, after the Onglet one that got cancelled.
Oh, so you had a quarterfinal. You were in the Onglet one when it got cancelled.
Yeah, it's like round 4 or something.
Round 4 or something, right?
And frothing because it was 1 foot.
Yeah, and then it cancelled it, and you were like obviously going to win it, and then you go to the Azores from there, and they're keeping the points from that first one, and then you end up coming 5th.
Yeah.
Which is so you get to the man-on-man stages, you know, and you're winning heats, and you know you and Logan both went on a proper tear, and that really I think is, you know, the sort of biggest result that a Welsh surfer has ever had in a pro comp.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know the history enough.
Sorry, that wasn't phrased like a question.
Yeah. I don't know, obviously I can't say if it was the biggest, like Carwyn and Guts and stuff. I wasn't around, but yeah, it felt good for sure. And it felt good to do it in good waves, because I don't really listen much, but I always hear people, oh, he's an air guy, or he surfs small waves and all this stuff, and it's like, all right, well, I just got 5th in that, like, and it was like 6 foot every heat.
Yeah.
And difficult 6 foot.
Yeah, it's like tricky, but it helped going out early for sure. Me and Log went like a week or 10 days early,
Right.
just because we knew it's just been summer in Britain.
Yeah.
It's coming into winter, and you check the chart for the Azores, and that place just gets hounded.
It was
by
huge as
swell.
well when you got there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like too big, but Guts had told me about when I think he got 3rd in the worlds in Gittery. I think it was.
Yeah.
That when he beat
Early
Tudor.
90s,
I don't know if he told you.
Yeah, no, I did.
I don't know if he's told you he beat Chell Tudor. But
He will be.
He will be telling us very sure, yeah. We'll be speaking to him soon.
Yeah.
yeah, but he said he got there early. And it's pretty common knowledge, but he said he got there early, and someone made him go out when it was huge.
Right.
Because it was going to be big for the comp, but not as big.
It was very big for the
So we kept saying, oh, let's just do the Guts theory. And it was huge, and no one was there. And it's like, not that it is sharky, but when you come from here and you go somewhere like that and it's massive and you're out in the middle of, like...
Spooky.
Yeah, me and Logan were looking at each other like, oh.
Quite a few of those spots as well, they are places where they send the contest in when it's really big, and if the contest wasn't there, people wouldn't really be surfing it like that. So you guys have to show up and surf it in like unsurfably big.
You'd be going to find the Coney or the Langland for sure, but you're surfing the rest bit. But we surfed a lot when it was like super hectic, and that's what Guts was saying. He said because when the comp comes around, you're so relaxed because the 6 foot feels like 4 foot, or the 8 foot feels like 6 foot.
Yeah.
So we did do that, and it did help for sure, I think, at that event.
And the other thing, you're in a proper world-class competition when you get barreled, which you did, and you get like a lower score than you were getting for turns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a good barrel,
Oh, it was, I just couldn't, like, I was in such a good, like, sort of, like, I just spent like 2 days with Llewellyn Whitaker.
Right.
And there was a few things that he said that really, or like resonated with me.
Yeah, he's awesome, isn't he?
Yeah. Hopefully, like I've done a bit more with him, and hopefully we'll be doing more with him in the future.
Great.
But I just felt really like I didn't, and I've taken it with me now. And it works sometimes and it doesn't work, but I like to surf heats where until I'm in a really good position, I'm not really worried about everyone else.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was in one of them, like, oh, the waves get, like, I wasn't really stressed, or like, what if he goes there and he does this, or I need to do this on this wave. I was just like, this wave's gonna barrel, so I'm gonna get barreled. But then in hindsight, it was a little nugget and I should have just cracked it.
But hey, it's,
So from there, you get a 25th in Israel, and then you get a 33rd in Caparica. So your position in the ratings is getting sort of eaten away at.
Yeah.
And then you have this run again then in Santa Cruz, and you get a 17th there. So that then puts you right up there. And that was the contest where you did this big frontside rotator into the flats.
Yeah.
And you got 7+ for a single maneuver, didn't you?
I got a 7-8 something.
7-8. Yeah.
I think I got the same scores I got for the lip line in Azores.
Yeah.
But I was pretty annoyed. I had in my head a 7, but I wanted an 8. I wanted an 8. But
that was like the crowd went crazy.
Yeah.
The commentators were like
frothing.
Absolutely, like just because it was like Tom said, like that was like how big was that wave? It was like
I don't know. It's like a 5 footer, maybe a bit bigger, but like just that wave, Santa Cruz. It's got a lot of backwash and a lot of power.
We both know it. We've been to a contest there.
When I was there, I was not long ago. I was texting my dad, and he was like, "Oh, have you because I had the focus of going there and just training on hard, shifty beach breaks."
Yeah.
Because they're so hard, them Portuguese ones. The France ones are nice and pleasant.
Yeah.
They can be hard as well, but the Portuguese ones are just, I swear they're like the hardest place to surf.
Yeah.
But it ended up pumping, and I surfed them and I surfed the good waves. But I was in the heat, I had a couple waves and I was getting really annoyed because I just wanted to, not annoyed, but I just wanted to show like my surfing, kind of just on the face on big sections, but I just kept catching edges and like the backwash, and I was like, and my dad always says, he's like, you're good at airs, like there's no point doing them all the time if you're not going to do them in the comp. He's like, just back yourself, like the land rate's so high,
Absolutely.
just do them.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, in my head I was just like I got nothing, I was in quite a good mindset as well, because I knew I had nothing to lose, because I was surfing to gain it, I wasn't surfing to protect anything.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, if you got to gain it, you got to go out and like get it, so just go do it. And then
I felt
like, because in a free surf, that section would be like, whoa, like you'd maybe have that moment of like, whoa, would you go for it? But in a heat, you're
literally the conversation me and Rhino had as we were waiting for you to arrive, because it was we were 1996. You and I went there, Rhines.
Was it?
Yeah.
Good grief! Stop.
And we were remembering being terrified of the place.
It's a horrible. It's not horrible, but.
I said to Rhino, I'd have been scared to do a floater on that wave. And then I went to the loo and I came back out and I said, Ryan, I'm taking that back. I given myself too much credit. I'd have been scared to punch out the back. I'd have been straightening up on that section. It was like...
Yeah. But it just... Yeah, it's like... I don't know, and it seemed like it was... I think G-Man said, like, it looks mental for us out there if you'd want to do them. Like, you know, if you were Matt Miola or something.
Yeah.
And
So
you
is that for you now? Like, is that giving you like a stellar sort of confidence going forward for the comps in the future? For when it gets conditions like that, are you going to just go, do you know what?
I think I've worked really hard on my forehand, just linking and surfing to get scores a lot recently and over the winter, and more recently I feel really good. But I do like it because them comps, the judges were absolutely frothing one major manoeuvre.
Right.
They Lucas Silveira got almost a 10 for one layback, and it was bonkers.
Yeah.
And Maxime in Caparica was getting 8s for one backside turn all the time.
Yeah.
And I do like that because it's like they're doing something that guy cannot do. And I think some judges would just be like, oh, you only did one turn, we have to cap it at a 6. But it's like, no, what he's doing is like when they give. And so I was like, I do enjoy it when it's like, if you go for it, we will reward you.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. You can get loads of reps in and just go for it. So yeah, it does give me a bit of like, it kind of excites me, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm going to crunch right into your stats here now, right? We look at who you're losing to, though, right? In those two, you know, do we call them a poor result? 25th, 33rd?
Well, it wasn't good enough, so yeah.
Okay, right. So you lost to Ramsey Buchheim in Israel, and you were defeated by Gasper Larsener in Caparica, both of whom are now sitting on the edge of like the CT berths on the Challenger Series.
Yeah.
So you know you lose. I know it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know, if you said if you don't get through, you don't get through. But you're losing to guys like world class surfers there in both of those occasions. And then if we have a look at your history in the rankings, you know you basically sort of tear on. You know, in the WQS, you know, you've got like 49th is your best result, 33rd, 65th in 2020. 49th, and then suddenly this breakthrough of like best result 5th. Your points total is 4 times as high as it had been any other year.
Yeah.
It's just absolute breakthrough year.
Yeah. I think there's a few things, but I think COVID helped.
Right.
And but just a year to get better.
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna help. And I also just I'm not writing anyone off. But I just think that, like, if you're... Not that I'm working... Well, if you're working harder than guys, like, you're just going to be getting better, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, in theory, if them guys were better than me then and they're getting better than me as quick as I'm getting better, they should still be way better than me, but I just feel like I'm getting better.
That's really interesting.
And it just, like, you know, you just, like, learn more about competing and... surfing and mindset and I think the year off, just like not the year off but just like the year
Of surfing.
to get like you had a whole year of getting better.
Yeah. It's shaking it because I mean I think that's the same thing with Callum Robson as well, you know.
Yeah.
And look where he is now, you know.
Yeah. Mind you, I do remember like 3 years ago I was just on Instagram just scrolling and I come across his Instagram.
Yeah.
And you always hear these people saying, oh, when you go to Oz, there's these brickies and these like carpenters who just come out of nowhere and they're mental.
Like Stu Kennedy.
Yeah. So I was looking at this guy's Instagram and I was kind of thinking like, Jesus, like people aren't lying. This guy is bonkers good.
Yeah.
And he's just some random account I found who like he does a couple comps.
No way.
I was like, Jesus.
And now he's world number 6.
And now he's like world number 6. I'm like, oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's alright. He was that good. Like, not everyone's
There's
that
not
good.
another one out there I need to worry about.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. I remember being like, Jesus.
watching the Challenger Series now, right? Are you watching it with like through gritted teeth, like I should be there, or are you watching it as a fan of the sport?
Nah, I think you can't be like negative. That's just like you gotta be positive. But for me, it's I want to be surfing at that level and better. So I'm just watching it going.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna go surf now, and I gotta be surfing that good and better. You know?
Yeah.
And those spots, like, you know, I drove to work the next day. I spoke to James on the phone early the night of the dodgy post from which we now learn was put out by America, and I was like really just annoyed because it like the first 2 rounds of that snapper contest, I was just like, I wanted to see Pat in snapper, you know, and it's like the events, you know, you look at where they're going, you know, they're going to snapper, they're going to compete in Hossegor, which I'm sure you've competed in places like that before. Down the line, then of course there's Halliwa, and then there's Huntington Beach, the US Open, and you know, Rhino, you've competed in Huntington. There is a sense of like history.
There's a lot of history there, isn't it? You know, it's like where the US Open is, and you've got the pier which sticks out. You've got I think it's a Wendy's or a, I don't know what it is. Ruby's, that's it. Yeah. You know, and of course I don't know, like I had to shoot the pier just because. You know? You know? It was actually quite scary. Have you gone through that?
Yeah, I don't think I went through. I think Joe Morris went through maybe. But he's like that. Joe loves doing stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had to do my Ben Gravy thing, didn't I?
Yeah. So. But I loved Huntington. It was sick.
And you had a hell heat in Huntington, didn't you?
Yeah. It was the surf was really good actually. It was about 4 to 5 foot. It was offshore.
It's way better than people give it credit for.
It was hollow. It was like everybody was getting barreled and. Yeah, I don't know whether I've already spoken about this on here before, but I had a heat with, I think it was Boris Atexia, who was, I think, French Open champion at the time.
CT at the time.
CT, yeah. Michael Munga-Barry.
Munga.
And Shane Beshan.
In the same heat.
Yeah. Shane Beshan at Huntington's kind of like...
Yeah.
Shane Beshan won the US Open.
Yeah, that's kind of like, what do they, like a... Shane Beshan and Huntington.
They just go together, yeah. Like Alan Charlo
exactly.
and Malvern.
So I was like, I was just going to go and enjoy it and stuff, and then, like, my first couple of waves, I only had, I don't know, like 3 or something, or probably it was just a 3, and then I had, a couple more, but nobody else in the heat had caught anything.
No
I was
way.
like, I can win this. And then the next thing I saw was Munga coming towards me, absolutely shacked, and then, and coming out, and then on the opposite side of me then was Beshan, and just doing this absolutely massive, flat air coming down into the flats, and I was like, well, we are then. That's me. That
was good when it lasted.
Yeah, but it was good. No, but it's like that's the thing. It's like all the names are there, you know, like everybody's there.
Yeah.
It's really hard as well. Huntington. When I watched the US Open, because I've surfed it in a reasonable size as well. You watch the US Open, and I'm like, the fact that they can, when they dash back out with 3 minutes left, and they pick off another one with only 2 or 3 guys in the water, it's actually a lot really shifty.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those lineups where you kind of need 15 people in the water to remember where to sit when you paddle back out.
Yeah. Like if I paddle past where it just crumbles, you can get in before the reform.
Yeah.
I did the juniors there.
Right.
And it was I managed to beat a lot of guys that I probably shouldn't have beaten at the time for my level.
Yeah.
But just because you had to surf your heat really smart.
Yeah.
And you weren't probably doing your best surfing. You were just getting 2 good waves and they weren't.
I'm going to carry on winding you up now, right? Currently, Ramsey and Maxime Houchenot are doing well, and they're sitting in the slots to make it onto the CT. We got Jorgen Kuzenet, could be about to make a jump in the rankings. You know, he's still sitting in the Sydney contest. We got Lucas Silveira. So at the time of recording, by the way, dear listener, we've got one more day of the Sydney contest left to go. So Lucas Silveira, who used Europe to qualify, sitting pretty. So that could be as many as 4 guys who were above you in the 21-22 European QS next year, not there because they're going to be on the CT instead, which could mean, as long as Leo Fioravanti doesn't get relegated back down, that as long as that doesn't happen, that you'd be 9th, you'd be sitting in 9th right now. So a repeat performance next year, and you'd be there as long as those guys go up. Plus, Europe might get more spaces if enough Euros qualify for the CT.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to do better than I did this year. I'd like to be on a tear and be super safe, not be back at 9th or 10th. I'd like to be way up there. That's the goal, anyway.
That's a good way to be.
Yeah, I'd take any spot, to be honest, but
yeah,
I'd like to be up there. That's where my focus is, just getting to the level that say Maxime and Ramsey are. Just the consistency as well.
Yeah, I think both of them are going to make it. That's my call.
I really they're the 2 guys that are probably, there's a lot of them that are really nice, the big dogs are actually really nice, but them 2, they're there's no, I don't see a reason for them to talk to some kid from Wales, but they'll just stop and chat to you for 15 minutes.
Really?
And you're just like, kind of like my idol. No, like Maxime's sick,
Except
and
you want to
really,
beat
and he's
them.
really nice. But Ramsey, like I've like screen recorded his surfing and just like watched it like so intently.
Yeah.
Because he's goofy and I just love backside surfing.
Yeah.
And to me, he's like, I love Gabby, but like Ramsey might have the best. For me, might have the best backhand in the world.
Wow.
And just like surfing with him and talking to him and surfing heats with him, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. But I want to smash you.
One of the stops coming up, Pat, it always interests me is Hawaii.
Yeah.
And obviously, like the Challenger Series stops off in December at Haleiwa, and this year, like I don't know, like if you could get in, if you could wangle your way in there, like what's your thoughts on like big shifty like Hawaiian size waves?
I don't know. I'd just go early if I got in. If I had a chance, and just
do
get
the
used
guts
to it.
theory.
Yeah, and maybe order a couple. Not that my shaper doesn't make amazing boards, but maybe like if I had the money, just order a few local boards. Probably that seems to see what even the best guys in the world do. And
They do.
They've got the best shapers working for them, and they still order local boards. So I'd probably, if they're doing it, it must work. So I'd do that.
This was Pat kicking our sofa-bound mic, by the way. There, producer Dodd's going to be having kittens.
It's my ADHD. But yeah, I don't know. Like yeah,
Does it stress you out like bigger waves or not?
Not really, Like, people think, oh, it probably does because you're from, like, Langdon or whatever and you surf, like... But I
North
don't know.
Canary.
Yeah, North Canary. But, I don't know, it kind of... The thing I like about them waves is, like, you kind of get exposed if you're not just going for it.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be safe, like, you kind of get, like, found out. But, no, I don't know, I think I've never been there and, like, I think I'd just be frothing.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd get a kick in.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, and I'm sure it would be humbling surfing like them waves. Like everyone says, it's like a crazy power, but the only way you're gonna get better is surfing them waves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it'd be sick. The Haleiwa's the one sunset I do look at and go, that just looks like weird and hard. Haleiwa, like I know that I've heard the rip and like the inside's really bad, but it does look sick. I think that's the one I'd really like to surf. And pike without heat would be mental. In a heat with 4 guys.
It would.
Sunset's the one I'm like, whoa. That kind of just looks like I'd only surf there if I had a comp there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about while you were here is you and Logan have made a landmark achievement for Welsh surfing because it was in Portugal that you got to compete for the first time in professional surfing history with a draig goch, the Welsh flag next to your name and as Wales rather than GB. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was sick. I was stoked because not that GB doesn't mean anything to us. It's just, you probably wouldn't know unless you come from Wales, do you? But when you come from Wales, it's like oh.
It's here. You wear it in your heart, don't you?
And like, and we're not really on the Union Jack, are we?
No.
So like having the Welsh flag was like,
No, it is.
yeah, the boys.
Yeah.
The Union.
And Seth got it as well.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Which was
yeah.
cool because even though he surfs for England, it was like he was like, I'm Welsh.
So he asked then, did he? Once he saw
They
you
said,
guys
"What do you want?" Rob said, and he said, "I'm Welsh. I want to have the Welsh flag." So me and Logan were
Great.
off it, and we were like, "Yeah, Seth."
So
yeah."
cool.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Because then you look on the rankings and you're like, "Whoa, he's Welsh, he's Welsh."
Wales,
And then
Wales,
if Alice did it, it'd be like, "Come on, the
Yeah.
Welshies."
And the Union Jack you were just saying is it was actually designed by King James I.
I knew you'd know.
He was the king who was James VI of Scotland, the son of Mary Queen of Scots, succeeded to the English throne in 1603, and he wanted to unite the kingdom of Wales, of England and Scotland, because he was like a bit
Taken
worried
over.
about his claim. You know, there'd been the Gunpowder Plot, and he was worried about his claim to those thrones, and so he experimented with lots of designs that basically united the Scottish, you know, blue and white X and the English red and white
Right.
crisscross, and then that was where they settled on the Union Jack. So you are right, like the dry goch, but it was then Wales had the St David flag at the time, and it just was never in the picture. Like they basically did the act of union between England and Scotland, and then they just decided that, oh yeah, the Welsh are on board, by the way. There was no one in the meeting.
And the Hawaiians and the Basque have their flag.
Yeah.
So we were like, sort the boys out.
But I wanted to ask about that because obviously we don't want to offend any listeners from GB for whom GB is an important thing.
And like there's some like people who support us when we're away who aren't from Wales. That's still like.
So that was what I wanted to ask about that, because I was wondering now, has there been anyone who would have formally supported you in the GB flag suddenly? Has there anyone suddenly gone like, oh, what they've done there?
I don't think so. I mean, they all know what we're like.
Yeah.
Like we had the conversation with Luke and Barnaby, who we were staying with.
Go on, I want to know what was that conversation.
And they were like, they said they were asking, say you got on the CT boys, would you have a GB and a Wales, or would you have two Waleses? And Logan said he'd have a GB and a Wales. I can't remember if he said just because of support or because he's got like English and Scottish blood as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, why not have an England or a Scotland and a Wales?
And I was like pretty like. Nah, boys.
Wales never fails.
Yeah, there'll be two dragons on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But
they want the England flag?
Yeah, but I said, boys, how patriotic are you for GB or England? And they almost sounded more GB patriotic than England because they're Cornish, I think.
Right.
Not to say anything that I shouldn't say, but like.
So what if they had a Kerno
Yeah,
flag?
I said if you could have a Kerno and a GB, they were like. Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Luke was anyway. Luke's super Cornwall.
Yeah.
Because then...
I think Barnaby is as well.
Yeah, because... what's his name? The Scottish fella...
Boydie.
Mark Boyd was... he was then on to someone asking about what would be the chances of him getting a Scottish one when he...
Yeah, he texted me about that, yeah.
Yeah. And so, should the English ones could just have an England one then, so we just lose the GB thing altogether?
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I don't know. We're all different countries, I guess.
Interesting.
It's probably before, like, for a little while, there probably wasn't so many, like, GB guys. Now there's, like, quite a few. Well, there always has been, actually, but there's more online stuff now.
It's more visible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, back then.
Before you just have GBR on your paper draw.
And then I suppose, for the Olympics, though, then, GB is the route into the Olympics, but that's, I suppose, in the same way that Europe is the way into the Challenger Series, isn't it? You surf for Wales, then you surf at the GB. You're one of the GB names to go to the Worlds.
Yeah.
But then the Hawaiians have to do the same, don't they? They've got to compete for America.
I don't think you're complaining if you're in the Olympics. You'll chuck the Union Jack on, won't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe sneak a Welsh flag up on the podium. Probably get fined or something.
Yeah.
Cool. So we talked about a little bit. You mentioned earlier about Llewellyn with Kelly. You've been doing a little bit of work with him. But like, I just want to sort of like get into your mind a little bit about like the plan and of like regarding like the prep and the training that you've got to get to what you call the next level and your goals and all that sort of thing. Where sort of what is the sort of the next step for you?
In terms of prep or contests?
I think that like basically we need to like know everything really,
Yeah. At the moment, I'm just working on like sort of like my progression of my surfing, not just like progressive meaning airs and stuff, just like getting better. Like I feel like I went to Portugal and I had a lot of focus on lefts, like just like doing carves tighter and like coming out with more speed and just like certain things where like my body was when I was doing snaps. And I've come back. I know we just spoke about Santa Cruz being really hard because it was small some days. There was the most perfect left sandbank. It was like something out of Porthcawl. Like it was unbelievable. Not that I doubt there's any Santa Cruz locals listening to this going, you expose our man. But it was sick and I got to just get loads of reps in. But it's just like working on my surfing, and I've got a new training program with lift coaching. And Flu's actually had a few conversations with him.
And what is lift coaches is like?
Like an online fitness trainer.
Okay.
The guy called Ben. Which he does a range of sports.
So what's that like
gym
CrossFit stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of movement and a lot of weight training. And
do you jog or
nah, I don't jog.
Bikes, swim?
Yeah, bikes and rowing and stuff, but mostly gym work.
Right.
But there's quite a lot of like movement stuff as well. But that, and so I'm just getting a bit stronger, maybe a touch heavier. But
is that always the goal, to get a little bit heavier?
Yeah, so like maybe a little bit, but just like my style of surfing is like like I'm my build, like I don't tend to put weight on that easy, and my surfing is like a bit like sort of like a bit more like a lot of moving and like a lighter surfer, but yeah, maybe a little bit heavier, and yeah, just trying to get my focus at the moment is to like I watch the CT guys and I'm just like trying, like I still admire them and they're like kind of on this pedestal, but trying to be like, no, I want to be that level. Like I don't want to be like, I'm trying not to be in the mindset of like, oh, I want to be top 10 in Europe. Like I'm like, no, I want to be as good as the guys in the CT. Like, so like when I'm going to surf now, some people probably think like, whoa, he's putting the bar high, but like I'm just thinking like, no, I want to be that level. Like I don't want to be, oh, he did the QS for a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, he was quite like, oh, remember when he did it right? Like I want to be like that level.
Coach, manager?
Thought the old man kind of ticks all them boxes, eh?
Right.
But like, yeah, I don't know. My dad helped. I am my mum, but my dad helps me a lot with like the entries and everything. And like, he watches more surfing than like me, Logan. Like, he's like, and he was like semi-pro at squash, so he understands the body and competing really well.
Right.
And he understands surfing really well, even though he's not that good.
I've watched WSL surfing with your dad. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and he's like...
I didn't know he was your dad at the time either. I was like, who's this dude sitting next to Pat who knows everything?
Yeah, about everyone. And like, oh, did you see that heat?
Then I heard you call him dad. I was like, oh,
did you watch that heat round of 96 in the Chile 1000?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And you're like, Dad, you're off it. But like, he just loves it, and he like Logue, like not just me, Logue will like take Dad's word, and like Dad says go sit over there, he'll sit over there. Or like, you know, Dad like we take Dad's word as like he knows, like we're not like, oh, he kind of knows what he's on about.
Yeah.
But then like obviously other coaches, like I do a bit with Joel, Surf Solutions.
Right.
Joel Gray, and he's really sick. But sometimes just they're like, and I only really do it if it's like not very good here. Go down and surf down there, and if he's doing something, I'll do stuff with him. Don't tend to like drive away from here and spend the money if it's going to be good here to go down there and train.
Yeah.
And then flew, if I can, sort of financially and just being in the same part of the world at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'll keep in contact with him a lot.
Yeah.
I find where his mindset is and his sort of wavelength or whatever you would call it resonates with me really well.
Great on that.
But
stuff, isn't it?
with I think a good coach knows how to approach most people's minds.
Yeah.
That's what a good coach is. But
gotta plug.
But
Lou's podcast with us while we're at this. You know, we had him on May last year. Just such an interesting guy. You know.
Yeah.
His story on like, you know, where he found that, where he suddenly realised that he had that in him. You know.
Yeah, I think like there's a few people who are really like can like know how to get me like ticking. Like my dad obviously knows he can say anything, and I'm like amped up. But Lou's like really good. Yeah, I really like. If I was ever in a position where I could, well, it'd be pretty hectic to hire a full-time coach, but
yeah,
if I was ever in a position where I could, I'd be pretty stoked to have him come around.
Yeah,
he's pretty on it.
Next question for me was one that I've actually asked Logan this, and I don't know whether it was like you guys are as good as you are, have got good from surfing here, like mainly in Wales and obviously around the shores of the UK. Like, and I spoke to Logan about it, and I was like, how come, like, in a little bit of downtime, do you, like, or even in the summer, do you not go, like, to Desert Point in Indo, or do you not go to...
Yeah.
You know, like, I know you've just come back from Portugal.
To, like, the really, like, the Barleys and stuff?
Yeah, or maybe go, like, the Canaries, you know, for the for the winter time in the UK or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
The one thing, obviously, like, excuses are excuses, but, like, I guess with work, sometimes, like, you just got to be around enough to, like, somewhat do work as well.
Yeah, no, of course.
But that's not an excuse, like, you should go in them waves. But for me, with the Barleys and stuff, I just, like, the most of the money we spend just has to go on the contest, and then you can't afford to go away as rest all the time. But for me as well, like, I don't know, I think maybe people like think it's like not a purist way of looking at it, But I looked at flights to Indo, and they were for the last 2 weeks. And I was thinking of going for a month. And I've never done it before, and I was kind of frothing on the idea, or I was going to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
But the thing that threw me off the most was just like £1,000 for a flight.
Right, yeah.
And the flight to Portugal was 80 quid, and I stayed with my friend Aaron Strong, who lives there.
Yeah.
So it was like already working out.
It's no brainer.
Phenomenally cheaper.
Yeah.
But, and the waves there are amazing. Anyway, well, the chart I had was unbelievable. I had super tubes and a lot of the reefs in, probably shouldn't say, even though everyone knows what they are, in Ericeira, that were amazing. But for me, for some reason, and I think with Logue as well, we just like froth on like going somewhere and training on the type of waves that we have in the contest, like the hard beaches, or like they're like kind of hard, like kind of has a lot of power and kind of moves a lot European waves.
Yeah.
Because like you watch the Brazilians, and I've heard them say it, and I haven't heard any other surfers say it. Well, you kind of have, but I've heard the Brazilians say it the most and emphasise it. And their beaches aren't always small; they are big and like shifty.
Right.
And they just train in all different types of conditions, and they just say we're drilled into us to be adaptable. So they just go and surf like clean when it's pumping, and like onshore when it's big at home and small, and they just like learn to be adaptable and be able to get scores in anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. We just go and train in like Europe, I should go and train as well. And for like the purest surfer side, just go surfing like Desert Point and stuff.
So I just wonder whether, with a wave like Desert Point, some of these great Indonesian point breaks, Jeffreys Bay is another one, whether it's just the fact that you're stood on your feet with that energy going through you
For longer.
And so, you're doing, if you go to turns, you're doing one turn and you're coming down from it, and then like you're able to take the feedback straight into your body into the next turn again.
Yeah, for sure.
And then again, and then you're getting the energy and the proprioception and all that you'd need for that big lipper in the closeout section of Santa Cruz. But instead of having to fish around for an hour finding that one big lipper in Santa Cruz and then hope you're not too tired and you're in the right part of the wave, you're just doing it for like 10 minutes a day on your feet doing that.
I think really I say like we want to just go train in the ways we do the contest, but I think it just happens that it's way cheaper to go there.
Yeah.
But I do want to go to Indo soon. I have been looking. Even though my dad does say to me, he's always says he's like, if you go to Indo, he's like, coming back here is going to be tough to stay motivated, But I'm pretty sure I'm too frothed and too motivated to like care.
I don't
be
agree.
Like, he was sick, but now I'm home.
Do you know what you got to do? See, I love Indo.
Yeah.
Rhino loves Indo. And I got other mates who love Indo, and I know people. It's probably not fair to name them. Who they go to Indo, and you're exactly right. It's ruined them. They come back and they just go, it's shit here. Can't surf here.
Yeah.
And they're done. I know guys who live in Coolangatta who've done that. They go to Indo and then they go, oh, I don't surf at Coolangatta anymore. For me, like, I get back from Indo and I go in the quickest, coldest, crappiest rest bay I can find immediately, and I just get it over and done with. And I just go, and that's it. And this is my new reality. It's all over.
Yeah.
This is it. And I just make a point, and I'll surf like 1 foot. I think if you suddenly wait for like a fun day, and then the fun day isn't actually as fun, it's like just let the comparison happen immediately. Let your face freeze. Catch a tiny crap wave and just get it over. But you would be fine.
Yeah.
You go to Indo for a month, you come back, and you'd be frothing in 1 foot rest bay.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think, I didn't really mention this, but not to say where they are or what the names are, but there are waves in the UK that I feel like compared to a lot of the boys that do the contests in Britain, me and Logue a lot, maybe because we spend a lot of time with Guts and Gil, is I do a serious amount of goosing, driving, usually north, sometimes south, but usually any direction north, to lesser known waves that are pretty good. Obviously they're a lot colder.
Yeah.
But like I do make a point of spending time in them heavier barreling waves. The one thing that I'm not proud of is that I haven't been to Ireland.
Oh yeah.
And I really want to go and film and get...
Right.
I'm trying to get the boards now as well. Like I speak to G-Man a lot.
Yeah.
Geroid McDade or however.
Gerridge.
Yeah, spend like loads of time with him and still like call him like
Where's
So he
have like
still-
eight
now
different
he's mates
versions
with
of eight different versions of his name.
Now he's mates with Mason Ho. He's still willing to talk to you then.
Yeah, he's actually, I'll be honest, he is the biggest legend. That video come out when we were with him, and he just like, he like will show that he's frothing, but he also is like,
Well,
kind of Mr. Cool. But he's pretty cool. Like you see these clips of him getting barrel like 20-foot molly, and then he's like, Paddy, we're gonna go find a little left and like do punts. Like he's still frothing.
Well, we love an Irishman on this show. We've had Owen McCarthy Deering, Almini. So if you're listening, Gerridge, anytime, mate.
Get him on. He'd come on.
Yeah.
He froths it. He's gonna come stay and surf pretty soon.
Oh, that's when we'll do it then.
Pretty frothing. Because I always show him like good shots of here.
Because Rhino, you're a big fan of Ireland, aren't you?
I love Ireland. I've been there like tons of times, and it's like one of those places where you kind of like I always knew that I should have gone. Like that was my only regret about Ireland, is that I should have gone there sooner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
That's what I'm happy about. Some of the spots we were talking about earlier before we were recording.
Yeah.
Further north that I go a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that is a place I just need to get there. And now I'm so close with Garage, I really want to go.
Yeah.
Because he can't palm me off and not tell me where to go. But I'm trying to get the boards as well.
Yeah.
Like the 6.2s, the 6.4s, 6.6s for like, there's no excuse for it. It's like a 8-foot pamper there. Because that's I just look at a pamper and I'm like, get me there.
Yeah. Because I mean, the footage.
Yeah. Because then them types of waves, I just, even though I love groveling and like surfing bad waves and doing like just normal performance surfing, I do, like we were saying, Indo, and I don't go training or whatever, but I do seriously like I just love them waves, like barreling, like kind of heavy, like slabs more than like big bombies. I just love slabs. I love that like intensity of like you've got to go, and like that just like where you've got to be under the ledge.
Yeah.
Like riding a little bit smaller board maybe, but I'll say that now and someone will hear it and I'll be at a spot and they'll be like, oh, go on then. but I really, that's like the other thing, like I love contests as well.
Yeah.
But that part of surfing where it's just like surfing them, like that rush of surfing like them types of waves, I just froth at.
And for me, Pat, that is like, obviously I've seen you surf the beaches around here. I've seen like footage of you like doing comps and stuff, but for me, that's where I like my respect for you really went through the roof, was when I saw that footage of you earlier this year through the XL video, the sponsored XL video up in Scotland, I think it was. Now, like those waves that you guys were surfing up there, you were up there with Ruben Ash, I think you were up there with,
and Kieran Smith. And then Bordy was surfing with us, and Timpson was up there, Harry and his brother.
Yeah.
And Angus and Luke turned up as well.
And that was like, I mean, I don't know how big you guys would call in that, but they were waves of consequence.
Yeah, that spot, that left, we don't know what it's called. I'd never surfed there, and I do really like being, like, Ruben is, in them waves, because he gets credit for being like one of the first, like the best aerialist in Europe for a long time and stuff, doesn't he? But in them waves, I don't know, I've seen a lot of guys in barrels, I think, not as much as most people probably, because I'm usually surfing crap waves, but for me anyway, his read on the ocean and him surfing in them waves is really good, because I've been to Morocco with him as well, with XL, kind of legends for taking us to them places. And his read, like I thought I was quite good in them waves, and I learned a lot of him. And speaking to G-Man, showing him the footage. But yeah, he was like, he was on a bigger board, but only a 6.2, and I was on a 5.10. And he was sitting sort of behind the ledge. I don't know if I'm rambling on too much.
No, not at all.
He was sitting like up, and he'd get in early, and then it would hit the ledge, and he'd
So
get
he's
barreled,
spared
and-
himself that like
and that
heart in
certain-
mouth
yeah,
drop thing.
And that certain wave has a tendency to clamp when it hits the deep water.
Yeah.
It's not very deep if you fall.
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of hot. You just get dragged up the reef. But
Yeah.
and he was getting out then before it clamped, and he was making everything. But he was like sitting there and just like, yeah, Paddy, like just sitting there, letting the boys go on waves,
It's totally comfortable.
just chilling. And then when the one come and it would be a bomb, but you can't, even though it was a bomb and it was a scary one, you knew that it was the one.
Yeah.
If you could be where he was and paddling at the speed he was.
Yeah.
And when I was getting them ones, I was getting good, but like sometimes I felt like I wasn't like getting in as early as him on my 5'10".
Right.
And then I was like getting a mental but I was getting the clamp.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't up and travelling quite as quick as he was. Because he was just getting in that bit earlier. Him and Boydie was on a 6'6". Obviously they're bigger than me, so
they're equivalent.
Yeah, but maybe he was almost close, but I wish I was on a 6'2".
Oh really?
Or like a 6'0" maybe.
Would have been.
And I had Cal's 6'3" with me. But just when you borrow boards in slabs, it's like the rail needs to be thinner and stuff.
Not a good idea, yeah.
But then like that one I got that I posted that everyone was frothing on, like a slabbier one, they were the ones that Boydie was saying there'd been a guy there recently who travelled from California who's taking sort of them west ones. And like they come sort of out of the channel and just hit that end ball.
Yeah.
But you've got to be under them and knife them, and they're shorter but they're like kind of dry and intense. And when I started taking them ones, I was like, I do really, like, even though it's gnarly, this is what I really like about these types of waves.
Yeah,
it's like being on them ones that just like, you're not going to catch me and make it and get barreled unless you're under me and fully committing.
Yeah.
So I was just like trying to take them ones then. Because I just was like, I'm struggling to get in where them boys are and get going.
I'm just not good enough at popping up to surf waves like that. My feet won't land in the right place.
That's the thing. I think
You are, right?
No, I don't think.
I think you're good at that kind of stuff.
But I think that was the thing. I think right now, when I was watching that video, and I think I spoke about this to you, Tom.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of people in the UK who can actually manage that surf right now. You know?
That takeoff.
That sort of takeoff. It is so.
Where like your head cannot go up. Like it's like you throw your board away down the wave and fill the gap with your body and your feet.
And I learnt things.
Sorry, I'm making it sound like I know how to do it.
No, for sure. you surf enough obviously to understand how it works, but and you've taken enough late drops. But I spoke to G-Man and he was telling me things that sound simple, but since I've been in Surf Super Tubes this week and it was like 6-8 foot, like some like bombies coming in, it's helped a lot. Like just like, and I had a conversation with it's bad I forget his name, the Northeast Ripper from back in the day. Gabe, sorry, hope he doesn't hear that, even though you've done an episode.
Gabriel Davis.
So, yeah, with Gabe, and he kind of told me similar thing as well. But G-Man was saying, I showed him the footage, and my arm, my left arm, because I'm a goofy foot, so my back arm was going back, and I was in the tubes like this, and every now and then I was having a tendency to track towards the closing lip, and like kind of coming out that way sometimes, only on really sucky intense ones.
Right.
So he was saying when you get in, he said literally make it like you've been coached to do it, like cause like you want to look natural, don't you? And like you don't want to look like a coach surfer, but he was saying literally just that back arm is just like pushing the trolley, you know, like you're both just like this and you're just leaning on that toe edge, so that toe edge fin and the rail is just locked, and then you can just like stay there as long as you need to and pump. Because I was like going like this, and then I was having weight on like all three fins and slightly going.
So he
towards
says you've got to be on the toe edge fin only.
Or no, just like having that grip and like that control, so you can keep traveling at the angle that you're like pointing.
Yeah.
Whereas when my arm was going back, and there was weight going back.
So he thinks it's the moving of the back shoulder forward over the toe edge fin that.
Yeah, just keeps you aligned and keeps your weight in the right place.
I got told that as well.
Whereas, because that's what they say, like in snapper and stuff, they're all pushing the trolley in there.
Is that what it is? Right.
Yeah.
I got told it by a guy from Sandspit that I was in Sri Lanka with, and he was one of the best. A guy called Christian Enns. He remains one of the best tube riders I've ever seen ever. And apparently people said, people from the Santa Barbara area have since confirmed he's one of the best tube riders ever, a guy from Sandspit. And he said exactly that to me and Richard Grove, and he had me drawing, like in a book, he was making me draw with a pencil what my two hands looked like. Sorry listeners, you can't see what we're doing here.
They probably know
what my two hands look like in front of my face, like that, and he was like, and he was making me draw it in a book, like your two hands there.
It's like the way Joe Parker used to do it.
Yeah.
And Mick Fannin did a video with Star recently called Cheat Codes.
Yeah, and he said
you put your
you're facing cheek then against the lip, he said, and so you have your hand there and your cheek against the lip, and the cheek against the lip things never work though.
Yeah. But yeah, so since then it has helped. Like I learned off Ruben and G-Man and them types of waves. That was like, because it looks so simple watching that type
What
of
does G-Man
surfing.
say about takeoffs in waves like that then?
He says you just got to paddle as hard as you can and commit and get under it. Right?
So
But
there's no
just like,
technique.
oh no, there is. You know that like, and it's that sudden bit where your brain is like, you got to make the. Sometimes you can feel that little moment where it's like, I'll
Whoa,
have the
go.
strong stroke and I'm under it and I'm going, or there's like they're like, oh I can't, I think couldn't get that one, boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, it's safer to commit.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But you've got to get up and get the weight on that inside edge in the front foot like straight away and be up on the front of the board. But just before, my weight was going like a bit neutral, and then I was like tracking the wrong way in the barrel. Whereas now, all my weight's on that toe edge and I'm pumping and driving as soon as I get up. I hope, if I do it right. So you're just going faster, quicker, and you're more stable. I feel like. And Gabe said the same thing. I fell on a wave in front of Gabe that was drawing really hard, and it's because my board tracked up and I got flips, you know when you get flipped?
Yeah.
And it was a bombing day at that really good spot, but I was on Cal's board because it was too big for my board, so the rail was too thick and I could feel that it wasn't gripping very well, but I didn't have enough like traction and weight and like grip on that toe edge and that toe fin. But since then, I try to think about it when I'm in the tube, and it does seem to help.
We've been talking about free surfing now. We've been talking about pro surfing. Where does the whole, and goals? It's a bit weird now in surfing, isn't it? That we've now got like pro goals, and then the Olympic cycle. Is that also in the conversation in your head? Like get through the Welsh, get to the British, get through the British, get to the Worlds, get through some rounds.
For sure. It would be amazing to go to the Olympics. Yeah, it is, and it's written down on like when I write my goals and stuff.
Yeah.
But like the prime focus for me is getting on the Challenger now. That's like the number one goal. But for me, I would be lying if I say I don't think about the Olympics as well, especially it being at Huntington as well.
Yeah.
How good would that be?
Yeah, well, not Huntington, LA or whatever. But
Yeah.
Well, the Chopes one would have been sick, but is that picked? No, that's not fixed yet, is it?
It's still gonna happen.
Yeah, so the Chopes would be sick, but the LA one as well, I think about as well.
Yeah.
Saying that, the Chopes one would be amazing being goofy.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
3 years time.
even though the best guys in them waves are phenomenal, it kind of gives a sense of like, if you get the two best, if two good waves come in 20 minutes on a slab, and you're the one that gets them and gets spat out, it's like, boy, you could beat some people that maybe you shouldn't beat at trestles. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Or at Huntington, yeah.
But then you say that and you see Jack Robbo at Chopes and he just, you know what I mean?
Well, I saw him do the same thing to Felipe Toledo in the box, and it was like, through came the bombs, there he was. And he was doing the thing you were saying Ruben does, of like, he was paddling in behind them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like, him and Toledo could have surfed that place for a 5-hour heat and he would have still beaten
Yeah, and for me as well, in that surf, and he did it in that heat, he's like, they're very, even though they're frothing, which I was like almost going on closeouts just to like, I was going on like 8-foot closeouts on a dry slab just to prove that I was like, look at me, I'll go, boys. Like, don't worry about me.
But I think that's something about being a surfer, in general, isn't it? You want to prove that.
But then, like, them boys have like, all right, cool, I've done that. Like, they'll just like, even though they're frothing out, sitting there, they're just like, this isn't the one. This isn't the one.
Right.
And then the one comes and they're like, this is my wave. And I think that's something I was learning is like being a bit more like go on the one, but like I don't know. I think being from here, you don't get that rush for so long.
Yeah.
When you get in them waves, some people are like, well, it's kind of weird that like you froth on them waves because you don't surf them very much.
Yeah.
But I think I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get that rush, that like, and then you just like want the whole bag. Like you want to just like go on everything, every close out. You just like froth it out.
Well, I reckon you just answered my question already then. Like, I was just say, you do love surfing, don't you?
Yeah.
I think, like, everything, like, from the first time I ever met you, I thought, like just from your conversations, like, your conversation is about surf, everything is about surfing. Like, you know, like, what's the key for you for, like...
I don't really know. I think there's like the side that like there's the days that I don't want to go in and it sucks, which is like the competition motivation to just go surf. And I don't know, it's just funner than everything else.
Have you got posters on your bedroom wall of surfers?
I've got one of me. I live with my missus most of the time, so it's limited what I'm allowed to put on the wall.
Right, okay. What did it used to look like?
There was actually, I had a guy surfing Jaws.
Ah, yes.
Jaws.
And then my mum had a few photos of, like, someone took a photo of me when I was like 12 or 13 doing a bottom turn at Caswell. And Cook, remember Cook?
Yeah.
Even though he's like
Mark
a pro
Jones.
golfer now.
Is he?
Doesn't like surf, he's just classic golf.
No way.
Yeah. He tagged me in it, and like I wasn't a Langdon boy when I was young, I didn't surf there. So I was frothing that like some ripper tagged me in the photo, and I got that blown up, so I had that on my wall until I was like 21. Till my mum moved to North Cornelly. Had a photo of a 12-year-old me doing a bottom turn.
Amazing. Pat, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and you know what a range of surfing discussion. You'll come back,
Yeah, for sure.
and you
That's
know
fun.
you'll
Thanks,
come
guys.
back even if you're number 6 in the world like Callum Robson.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks listeners for tuning in to this edition of Crest First Tuesdays in partnership with Elusive. We will be back on the first Tuesday of July, and this time it really will be Nick Hounsfield. Nick, in case you don't know him, is the founder and the main man behind Bristol's The Wave, and we'll be picking his brains for the incredible story of how he brought about such a vision, as well as what does he see happening next in the world of surf technology. Nick's a lovely guy and a really interesting chap to talk to, so keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. I think, you know what, for me, it's been amazing to chat to you today, because learning to find out what it's like in your world is like a world that I never experienced as far as competition went. So, yeah, thanks for that. But I'd like to ask you, just talking about Nick Hounsfield there and the Wave at Bristol there, how much of a fan of you are of the Wave in Bristol?
I think it's sick.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know how much depth I should go into, but I find the wave quite confusing sometimes, because it doesn't. With the ocean, you can kind of read what the wave's gonna do. I think the wave there, like, you've got to just know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And you kind of like surf it because you know what the wave's like. It doesn't really like tell you it's about to double up. But I think it's amazing. Like, I've had surfs there where I've got like, I'm like stressing out and like I'm getting filmed and why am I cooking it? And then I'm like, I'm in a field in Bristol. This is mental. Like, just be like grateful what you're doing, and then I always have a good surf then.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, and the fact that we have that one and another one 4 hours away is like, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, and I guess as a training ground, what does it as a training ground for you? Is it just like
it's just when it's flat, you can just.
I know every time I see it's flat here. I see you and Logan up there.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
that's how it should be.
It is amazing. It is on it. It is. Yeah, I can't really. When people ask when you go away, what is it like? You're like, what is like pretty hectic. Like, you can go to a field in Bristol and
Pay 60 quid to get barreled 12 times.
or just like practice the same turn or the same air 100 times. Or like, it is sick. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Anyone who says it sucks is just like, need a reality check maybe.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, as we said, more on that next month. In the meantime, we're always super keen for any ideas or feedback. Just email us at crestcast@gmail.com or comment on either our Instagram or our Twitter feeds. Crest, in partnership with Elusive, can be found on YouTube, Apple, Spotify and Google, amongst other platforms. And do please leave us a review if you like what you've heard. It all helps. We've also got a big back catalogue of chats to go through if you just scroll back. The last and biggest thank you is, of course, to you, the dear listener. And here's hoping you're all getting a few as the summer wraps up. Diolch am gwrando a gwel chi yn fiam. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye.
See you.
Yeah. Bye guys. Thanks for having
See
me.
you.